I'm taking 5 pumps of Dior Prestige La Lotion Essence de Rose. This is called Bain Satin Dior. Inhale and exhale 3 times. On the exhale, you can pull your hands back and then come back in. And you can use any lotion for any franchise. So if this was a Capture Total treatment, you would do exactly the same thing. Now you're taking the excess and not applying it on the client at this point. You're applying it on your hands, backs of your hands, down the arm. This way, as you pass over the client during the treatment, they're experiencing the aroma of the franchise over and over again. Saturate 5 cotton pads before the treatment begins. Then in your little dish, have extra makeup remover in your dish so that you can quickly take more and use it on the eyelashes if necessary. All items loosely have the caps on them. Nothing's closed. Taking a third for the lips while those are sitting there for a moment. Pressure on the outside, working towards the center. Pressure on the outside, working towards the center. This is an easy removal. So you're placing the extra eye makeup remover on your couple. You're placing your hand on the client's forehead while you're doing removal. Folding, working from the outside towards the center here. Inside towards the center, outside to center. You can take extra on your fingertips and really get in there. Go back and forth, around in circles. I'm leaving your mascara for today. But don't be afraid with the client to get right in there. What would that look like? I'll show you next. Take fingers, brush excess mascara onto the cotton pad or cotton round. And you can use nice, larger sweeping motions. I'm leaving quite a bit of Sarah's eye makeup today. And again, we've got extra eye makeup remover in our little plate or dish. You can really get right in there and use longer sweeping motions onto your cotton round or cotton pad in this case. Good. Fold as necessary. Smooth again. When time permits, do be as thorough as you can. So at least have 2 large cotton pads fully saturated in cleansing water. So you're going to pass over, starting at the neck, working my downward smoothing back and forth motion at least 2 times. I'm not wrapping the cottons, but you certainly could. If you were, then it would look like this. do want to do that again. This time I'm going to apply with the cotton pads horizontally, just to show you a different way of them being wrapped, because everyone's hands are a different size, so sometimes vertically might be better. Other times, depending on the person's hand size, vertical or horizontal might be better for me. Wrapping. Index and baby. Here we go. Never starting here, but always passing over, so the client experiences a little bit of the aroma of the products. One hand in, the other follows as you move along the face. And if you have more, the client won't see this, but you can flip over to the other side, passing over again. So now, at this point, you could take your towel and press and dry a little bit, but don't have to. Next step would be makeup removal balm, showing quantity. Warming, circles. So again, broader, more open strokes here. Now you're going to switch to the solar plexus. This is position 3. 3, 4, 5. Switch. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Switch. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Good. Hands are transitioning to the trapezius muscle, kneading with the knuckles here. You can do this 3 to 5 times. That's 2. Working from the outside, coming in towards the neck. That's 3. All knuckles are moving. That's 4 and 5. This is the challenge. We're going to be working on this side of Sarah first. So we're going to turn the head this way. We're going to approach with our left hand and come right back up to the back of the neck. So we're creating rotations around the shoulder using the opposite hand, and the right hand is doing the sliding and gliding motion up to the neck. Then we're going to transition. We're now working on this side, so we're going to work with our opposite hand and grab and wrap. So that is your earth and moon. In this case, because I'm right-handed, we're working on Sarah's left. So my right hand is doing the earth moon rotations. My left hand is sliding and gliding up to the back of the neck, or what we call the nape. Good. Now we're transitioning. We're on position 7. So we're going to do hand over hand. Now we're on position 8, doing thumbs. Very important that we don't forget the chin with thumbs here, because as we age, our chin gets larger. Position 9, the linear cheek petrissage. This is a very slow motion. This is not really, it's not to be like this. We're really taking our time and completely relaxing the jaw and this lower half of the face. It's not about making quick gestures here. Slow moving skin, large circles, the pads of your fingers. Now, we want to get from the chin Up to the forehead, this is your transition on position number 10, the connection, so to speak. Here, if you lose your place, you can take your hand over hand in between the eyebrows. Then we're gonna dive down the nose, and you can see that I'm going quite wide here as with my right hand. My left is stable above the forehead. I'm doing 3 to 5 rotations. That was a few extra just for the magic of camera. Outwards, almost to the center of the cheek with your rotations. So we're working upwards. We're going to start on this side of Sarah's face first. And we're just getting our motions going here because we're about to use the makeup removing balm around the eyes. So my right hand is the moon, a half moon. My left hand is the earth. Don't want to leave anyone behind. Here we go. And now we're going to make our way back to the other side here, working straight up. And now we're going to make our half moons, working from the outer part of the nose, and kind of, you can see that my left hand is kind of making a half fold position if you really want it to be officially done. Now we're going to bring in the moon and the earth. And we can stretch up here. We're on position number 18, pardon me. Now we're going to be in the center and do crisscrossing. We're on position number 19. All the way across. And don't forget to come back to where you started here. And slide the hands apart, or sliding and gliding to the temples, working upwards and outwards. Good, bit of pressure, and you're done here. Now we're going to bring in our gloves and remove. Passing over. Too hot?
Okay, perfect.
And this special note, if you don't have these, of course I can send a link, but large cotton pads would also work, which is what we did in the training in Nashville. An important note here before we move on to the next piece, we're towel drying so the client doesn't get cold. So before placing the face, you can massage a little bit. So I'm just gonna do the motions because you can do a little bit of massage. Now we're on to mechanical facial exfoliation, step 2, circular motions. Always pass over the client. Placing in the beginning with a little bit of massage here. You can always start with a bit of water so that it's not aggressive on the skin. We're going to thoroughly envelope the facial contours just like we did with the makeup removing balm. This is step number 3. Don't forget the thumb. We're on step number 4. Now again, we're going to totally relax the cheeks with this linear cheek petrissage. One hand and the other one follows. Be sure to cover the jawline, upper outer lips, upwards motions from the nose. Now we're on to our connection motion, number 6. One hand stays on the forehead while the other one's massaging on the nose. Diving down the nose. Performing the same gestures with your mechanical exfoliation, which is Prestige Le Sucre de Gommage. There we go. And we are at number 9, and we're flipping the page. smoothing gestures. Now we're going to do our crisscrosses across the forehead. And we're coming back to the center here. We're on position number 11. We're going to smooth across the forehead. We're going to work on Sarah's right side here. So we're going to do a few rotations just like so, doing our half moons, but we don't want to forget the earth. And we're going back up across the forehead, and we're going to transition to this side. And we're on position number 15. Palms to fingers, full hands, and position number 16, rotating pressures on the temple. And now we're going to go back to our mini glove rinse. Mini glove rinse. Great to use the Prestige Lamousse in order to remove any residue from the Sucre de Gommage. There's no specific application method here. It's very fast, it's quick, it's easy. Going back to our gloves. We're on step 1 of lotion application. Step 2 and 3. That's 3, 4, 5. Step 6 is pinching. You're using the fingertips and thumbs here, grabbing the skin gently, lightly, and we're finishing the lotion application by fanning the skin. Step number 5. 7 full pumps. Warm the product away from the client. Place. And go down the neck. We're going covering at least 2 times here. Hand over hand. Don't be afraid to use a bit of pressure on the shoulders. This is not a hurried application. Hands together, point number 2. Smoothing sides of the face. Point number 3, j'adore. And point number 4, j'adore into a fan. Grand Mask or Caviar de Rose. Caviar. There we go. You can use a spatula or brush here. always do 1/2 at a time. After you've placed the cotton pads, you would proceed to the hand and arm massage. We're going to mix or combine Dior Prestige hand cream with a little bit of oil here, or you can use Grand Mask, or you can use Micro Caviar during a Prestige treatment if this is not available. First, begin by applying the product and distributing. One, two, three. My hands are behind the arm. Thumbs are really doing most of the work. Fingers are moving at the back just gently. Now we're sliding down to the hand down here. You can grip one at a time if you want, focusing a bit of pressure on the thumb and the baby finger. Now we're going to pull them at the same time with light to medium pressure. This should be quite relaxing. Now we're going to take the other fingers that haven't had that drainage motion. We're doing 2 at a time here. If you wanted to do 1 at a time, you could. Don't forget the center. Now we're going to come up underneath with the thumb, and my index is behind here, applying pressure. You'll notice that I'm not doing any fingers that are next to each other, so this is uncomfortable for the client, but we can do a nice separation here. Now we're going to go upwards on the metacarpals. This should be the actual speed. If you don't have time, then a quick motion also feels quite relaxing. And you'll notice that the arm, the elbow is on the bed. The arm is not elevated away from the bed. If you find that the client's arm is coming up like this, then gently put the arm down, or if they're trying to lift their hand, you can place your hand here and make them relax for a moment without saying a word. Now we're going to take the opposite hand with literally no pressure here. Clasp the hand, and we're going to do some half rotations to kind of signal the client that we're going to do some full rotations towards the body first. Just 2 or 3. Now we're opening the hand, and that's an outwards rotation to open. And we're doing position number 6 right now, where we're kneading inside the hand. So you can do some rotations together, and then or you can do thumb over thumb. Now we're turning the hand back to the natural position. We're on position 7 now. So we're pulling on the fingers here, hand over hand here, wrapping. Don't forget the entire hand. Wrap slowly, one hand's underneath, the other one's on top, and repeat on the other side. This is where you would revisit some of the opening gestures. There's no specific way of massaging in Le Grand Masque or Le Caviar de Rose. This is, again, a spot to take a moment and revisit some of your opening gestures and protocols. At this point, you would take a warm towel from the towel warmer and place it here, 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 and flip as you go, kind of gently slipping away excess from the skin as you're removing. We're moving on to the sculpting gestures, the perfect facial contours. This is step 1, where we're going to take about 4 pumps of Le Nectar on the hands, massaging into the hand a little bit. Apply additional pumps on your dish. You can actually turn the client's head a little bit. So we're gathering the skin, bringing the thumb down, and then working in an upwards, smoothing the lifting motion. Let's do that again. We're gathering, sliding and gliding the skin. You don't want too much product here because you definitely want to be able to grab and grip the skin. I would say 3 to 4 pumps. If you need more, of course, add more. That's 4. And now we're going to go to 5. And with this, I'm counting to 5, but if you don't see a noticeable difference in lift or shape of the face, then you could do it a couple more times. Here we go, we're going to transition over this way and proceed the same way. Now you'll notice that at the end here, I'm leaving this zone without the gripping and gathering gesture. It can sometimes be sensitive, so be conscious of that. That's where we're doing our hand over hand motions here, lifting, smoothing, gliding. This is 4. And here we go with 5. So the idea here is that you're gathering and kind of lifting towards the temples. Okay. Now, we're going to work from side to side. So we're gonna do a little crawling gesture here, turning the client's face towards you as much as you need. So we're gonna gather with the thumbs and move with the fingers. We're gonna do this at least 5 times. So again, we're starting at the jawline, gathering and smoothing up towards the temple, starting on the outer corner of the lip, gathering and smoothing upwards towards the temple, gathering outside of the nose, gliding and guiding, ending up here. Let's do that 3 more times. Again, you don't want to have too much product on the face because you need to have some grip in order to hold the skin and move it. One more time. Now in this situation, we're going around the client, turning towards, gathering with the thumbs. And this is why it's important that anyone performing a treatment has relatively short nails, because the client will feel the nails otherwise. Good. Now we're on position 3. So we're bringing one hand in and we're doing some ejection motions here. So you're lifting, sliding, gliding in a j'adore fashion and ejecting on the forehead. And you might notice that my body is leaning in while we're doing these ejection motions. We'll do that a couple more times. You can do a minimum of 3. If you're pressed for time, this can be a fairly quick motion, or if you're not pressed for time, you can take your time here. It's like you're going skiing. Now we're going to move on to the sculpting gestures, the radiant smile. This is why we have extra pumps of Le Nectar on our dish. for this motion. We're going to be focusing in this zone. So if you need a little bit more nectar, then this is the time to grab that extra pump or few pumps that you have on your dish. So we're going to warm the nectar, pass over, and this is really the zone where we're going to focus it. This is where we're working the most. We're going to start with our Donald Duck, the duck lips or petrissage. So what you're really targeting here is the node. You need to feel this meatier part outside of the lips and continue those motions as you're working. That's one time, and now we're going to go back for a second pass. Now we're transitioning. Fingers are working in the nasolabial fold. I like to rest this part of the meaty part of my hand on the temples, just lightly. And now you're going to stretch, slide, and glide up to the temples. One hand in, the other one follows, and we're going to do that speed again. You can go a little slower here if you have the time. If you don't, then this is what it would look and feel like. This is the real timing of this gesture. Stretch, slide, and glide. At this point, you would apply lip glow, or lip glow oil, or lip maximizer, depending on the client. Applying your dose on the thumb. You're not going to need this again. Taking the two thumbs, massaging together. Your fingertips are going to land right here. So before we were working horizontal and outwards. Now we're working completely vertically. We're pressing in here. Thumbs are underneath the eyes while there's pressure being maintained underneath the cheekbone. This is a 3, 4, 5, upwards. And we're doing that again, while again keeping a little bit of pressure underneath the cheekbone and upwards. It's a light kind of petrissage or beating almost. Massaging. And if you have time, you can do this speed. And do this motion until you feel like the eye serum has been absorbed, regardless of what franchise is being used. Now, we're going to transition right here onto protocol number 2. Just kind of gathering a little bit. Now we're taking this middle finger and your thumb and pulling up and back a little bit, gathering. And stretching towards the hairline. Good. Here, here, here. Gathering, stretch, gathering, stretch. The thumb is really doing a lot of work here. You're just kind of gliding and moving the center or index finger, whatever is more comfortable for you. Gather, lift, gather, stretch. Lift, gather, stretch, and lift, gather, stretch. And you're going to bring the hands like this. Sometimes if I lose my place, I do some extra smoothing gestures on the forehead, but you're ending this motion with a nice smoothing action over the entire surface of the eyes. And you can end with a little rotation on the temples if you wish. And now it's time to apply your core program. So what does that look like in the case of Prestige? You're going to use La Microville de Rose Advanced Serum. So, after applying, warm the product in the hands. You can pass over and place. And this is where you're starting. You're working in a downward motions. Working in a downward motion. Up and out. here, I'll do that again. We're gonna do this horizontally. Horizontally, it will be more comfortable for the client if you switch to vertical here. Then what we're gonna do is bring ourselves back and form a J'adore bottle. Hands down the contours. Do that again if you feel that there's a little bit too much product left. Here we go. And we're working this way now with the J'adore bottle and fanning. And with pressure in the temple here if you wish. And we're going to use the same application method here. So we're taking our doughs, warming the product. We're going to pass over and place. And smooth. Not really doing much of the shoulder here, mostly the neck and sides of the neck. Hands together, stretch, slide, glide, switching to vertical. J'adore. I'll do this a couple of times. And j'adore with a fan. And with this motion, I encourage like kind of leaning into the motion so that it feels like a dance almost to the client. And then we pressure rotations here. Prestige le concentré yeux would make sense. So you could apply this again by warming on your fingertips, applying right here, sliding and gliding. You could also include some rotations around the lips using my fourth finger and my center finger here, and just alternating. I said fourth, but really it's my third. And center, third and center. About 5 times. Now at this point, the high precision treatment is complete, but you can always end with dream skin, which is definitely what I would recommend. And I recommend starting with the cheeks with dream skin and facial because it really enhances the effect. And there's no particular way to apply dream skin in this case, but refer to your opening gestures protocols. And then special note, if you feel like there's a zone where you want extra perfection, take an extra pump and be very specific, very intentional with where you apply your extra pump.